Hello, let's jump right into it. Could you share a specific project where data helped you solve the problem and what was the main goal you're trying to achieve?
So we have one project that rely heavily on data. It's related to tipping. We work in the hospitality business, and especially in the US, tipping is a huge part of the servers' revenues. And so as a provider of payment, we have to provide the best option for the servers in order to tips. So the tipping project was basically how can we make sure that our product is at least as best as what we can see in the industry, and even how can we make it better. And so here the data was how can we measure precisely how people tips, what is their behavior, and how can we make sure that we provide the best experience from the guest
Hmm?
to the server. And basically here it involved like several key aspects with data. It was behavioral A/B testing to see how people react to certain things, but it was also data from a financial perspective, because then you need to make sure that the computation are the right one and you provide the right amount to everyone. And so it was heavy data intensive from the product side to the technical one. And so it's
Mhm.
indeed like an interesting project to speak about data.
Awesome. And what was the key steps you took to solve this problem and achieve the goal you were talking about
So
before?
as always, when we try to approach any problem, any new products, any situation we may have, the first thing is that we try to understand what is the current baseline, so we know from where we start and what we should measure to know if we have the right impact to the right person. And then we obviously observe and track this data. So the first step is really like what is our baseline, what we should measure, and what success look like.
And the steps after that?
Yes, because after that you track it, you optimize, and this is where practices like A/B testing are handy. So we are
Mhm.
doing a lot of A/B testing to try to find the right option. And then obviously, as I mentioned, we have, especially for this project and in any fintech in general, a huge aspect of our products that are based on the financial data. And
Mhm.
so we also have to build the proper pipeline to make sure that we have exactly the right information flowing between all different systems.
Mhm. And how the team for this project was structured? Like who was involved or is involved in this project?
So very often, what we do is we have initially a project that is started within a given team that is in charge of that aspect of the experience. So, for example, in that team, it was initially started as part of the financial services team, but then because we saw that this product was growing and we were adding a lot of different features, and we decided that it was best to create a dedicated team. And so
Mhm.
we created a dedicated engineering team to tackle that and to work not only on the tipping, because when I am saying tipping flow, we are providing a feeder for restaurants, so we can distribute the tips and they don't have to manage the liquidity issue that can arise with the tips. And so we created a dedicated engineering team. But on the side, we also have a dedicated data team that acts as a support team when these teams require some more heavily work, especially
Mhm.
when there is some data science and let's say very specific analytics to do, especially when we try to have the baseline, because having a baseline is very often complicated because the data can be interpreted in so much different way, and you know that causation and correlation are not the same thing. So this is where we involve the data people, because they know how to make sure that we are tracking and observing the right numbers.
And what the timeline look like? Like how much time you spend on this project from the start to this point?
So the timeline. So I often said jokingly, but it's not completely a joke, that basically when you start a project, it's never gonna end unless you kill the associated feature. So for me, this is still an ongoing project. It's just that
Mhm.
now the scope of the team is also focusing on the server experience, and we provide, for example, a dedicated native app for them so they can track what they earn. They can also understand what is happening in the venue in real time. So, for example, now we can even send them notification if we have a table that left a bad review, so they can go and check to the guest what happened. So as you can see now, the scope of the team has grown. So I would say it have been now since the very beginning that we have started to work on that, and the team is still working on that. So the timeline for me, it's just an ongoing, and it's what is the amount of effort you put on the different impact you are trying to.
I imagine that hiring the assassin to kill the future is still on the to-do list. I am just wondering, like, what are the next steps in the project, and how are you choosing the next steps in the project? As you know, as the future is still alive.
Yes, and this is a very good question, because I have seen many teams and many company struggling with how can we prioritize stuff and how can we maintain the right amount of focus in the teams, because obviously we'll always have more to do than when we can realistically do. So the question is how to choose what we should do next. And this is where, from the beginning, we are trying to make sure that the engineers and the product manager are able to take the right decision based on the business impact. So the most obvious one are how much GTV, so gross revenue, it can provide to the company. It can be also a question about how can we improve our margin, but sometimes it's about how can we make sure that we decrease the number of tickets that is incoming. So always the question on what we should do next is, okay, what is the impact we are trying to have? What are the current KPIs and numbers we have around that? And can we put like a strong hypothesis on how can we move this number in the right direction?
Okay. And while working on this project, like, what were the biggest obstacles you faced? Like, do you had some kind of issues with data availability, maybe some kind of technical challenges? What it was?
For this kind of project, and for this project specifically, it's very often about data quality, because especially when you work in our business, you are in the middle between data that is coming from the POS, data that are coming from your own systems, data that is coming from your financial rails. And so all of that data, you need to make sure that you can correlate the right data between each other, and to make sure that you are doing the proper reconciliation. So when you display the data, you have the same information across all of your channels. You cannot have your POS displaying a given number and your own system displaying another one, and then at the end having a payout, so some money transfer, that is not the same amount again. So it's about data quality, and how can you ensure that you reconcile the right data, and you go into the rabbit hole of taxes, because even like rounding systems, because some systems are doing half bottom rounding, other are doing half up rounding, and it can create just sense of differences in your system, but eventually it can just create the just enough annoyance for everyone, because they're like, okay, this data doesn't match up, and so now I don't know who I should trust. And in our business, I think when you are handling and moving money, keyword is trust. People need to trust what you are doing. So
And
data
how did you?
quality and maintaining that data quality across your different pipelines.
And what's your approach to that? Like, how did you make sure that your data quality is best possible?
So what we do is, first we have an extensive phase of piloting, and very often what we do is that we are comparing our data between the different sources. So before we launch the actual system, we take the data from the POS, we take the data from the financial system, etc., and we compare to check if we have, even at the sense level, some issue, so we can understand why they're happening, fixing them, and making sure that we are providing the right information to the right people. So it's tedious sometimes, but it's really about, okay, let's export financial reports from the different systems and check line by line what is happening. And for each line that it doesn't concur, understanding why and how can we just fix that.
If you're about to start this project again, having this hindsight right now, what would you do differently if you were about to start this project again?
I think I would start this phase about comparing and understanding exactly, because at the very beginning, we were doing a lot of work, I think, without really looking at the right data, and especially we were not benchmarking our solution against the other flow of money. Meaning we were not able to say, okay, is our tipping system better than what they have or not? And it's an issue because you know that for yourself, you are doing a good job and you are improving things based on your own data. But having an external baseline, I think it's even more important in such situation, because then you can obviously compare to, I think, maybe a better baseline, because it's basically what the rest of the market is providing.
Okay, and talking about this project, like what specific tools or platforms were essential in gathering, processing, and analyzing the data?
So in our stack, we are using, I would say I'm very conservative about innovation. For us, we have already enough issue on our end not to try some new shiny tools. So we have quite a simple, I think, system. We have ingestion that is done through federated query in BigQuery. We are heavily using the Google stack. So BigQuery with federated queries that grab the right data from our production database. Then we have, what is the name again? DBT that is used to transform. So basically we go from let's say a data lake to a data warehouse using DBT. And then we still have some DBT work to provide more refined data, to have what we call gold, a table in which basically you have the right KPI. And then we provide this KPI either through a dedicated dashboard that we create and we develop, or through Metabase. So it's, I think, a very simple, a very straightforward data pipeline.
Awesome. And looking to the future, like what do you think will happen in the next 1-2 years in the terms of new technology? You see something great on the horizon, or even cautiously thinking about implementing that? Like what's your thoughts about that?
Right away, it's maybe anecdotal, but I think it's it gives like a glimpse of where we are heading. But I know that we integrated maybe like a few weeks ago a new tool that will do automatically the reconciliation from a financial perspective in our system using some AI technology. So especially in the financial sector, one of the key aspects is being able to do the reconciliation between your different flow of money. And we are seeing now the first tools that are able to do it in an automatic manner and in a safe way. And it's interesting because it gives you like an idea of where AI that now is mostly used for, let's say, language interpretation. We are talking about large language model. So it's really good, for example, understanding the text, providing some answers, this kind of stuff. We are using, for example, some part of that in the review. So when people are leaving review, we can then extract and provide summary of what people were saying, this kind of stuff. But now we are also seeing this kind of tool being used in more, let's say, technical environment, like data, like financial reconciliation. And I think it's interesting because it's really where I think we could see the better leverage of this kind of technology even.
And on practical level, how are you using AI to make your work faster, better, or both right now? What's your approach to that?
So as a CTO, my main job is providing the right alignment, the right communication to my teams, and making sure that everyone understands why we are doing something and where we are heading as a team and as a company. And so a lot of my job is about communicating to stakeholders, to people in my team, to manager. And so obviously I'm relying a lot on two main tools, which is ChatGPT. I'm using it heavily with the vocal instruction, so I can just
Nice.
dict what I want to get while I'm working on something else, and then get the result, doing like some change copy pasting, and I can move on. And I think it helped me like improve my productivity by a huge margin. And then I'm also using a tool called Superhuman, that is a mail system that is able to provide AI summary and AI answer to the mail that you received, and also it's a huge time saver. So I'm not using AI on a more technical manner, because now my job is not anymore about creating code and solving technical or product issue, but more about how can I improve and getting better at communicating with other, and just being able to keep the pace, because I'm receiving a lot and I need also to communicate a lot.
Awesome. And I'm just curious, like, how's your organization preparing for the changes in regards to AI? Like, what's your approach as an organization to that?
So what we did is that we decided to embrace it, because for me, really, the question is not should we prepare or not. It's yes, it's here, it's already there, and we need to make sure that we can adapt and embrace what is now enabled by these technologies. So first of all, we made sure that we have some AI systems that are available for everyone. So we, for example, created a little wrapper on top of OpenAI API that anyone in the company can use if they want. We also integrated AI, for example, in our support system, so we can know which. So again, it's analyzing what are the main issue at the moment, providing a summary of conversation, this kind of stuff, especially on the technical side. And I also provide to anyone in the team, if they want licenses to Copilot, so they can use AI on a daily basis to help them on technical tasks. So really for us, it was how can we embrace it, and let's do it in an intelligent manner. So I can have my security officer taking a look at it and making sure that we are using the right tool for the right usage, and that the data privacy are taken into account. And let's provide the right tools to the people, so they are not choosing some stuff in our pack, and you have then some data privacy or even security issue. So it was really like, okay, let's move forward and let's embrace, let's not resist, let's just make sure that we can get and help the company move forward on that topic.
Nice. Awesome. And finally, based on your experience, what advice would you give someone looking to leveraging data more efficiently in their business?
I think right now, the missing link that I am always, not always, but often seeing, is making sure that your engineering team understand the impact that they have with their work. I think it's really powerful to make sure that your developers are able to see from actual KPI that what they are pushing in production is doing and making a change in the company direction. So for me, it's really what I would try to pass as a message, is that how can we leverage data better so the teams can really see the impact, maybe not on a day-to-day basis, but at least on a weekly basis. Just to give you an example, the data about what were the gross transaction volume that we processed, how it was dispatched between the different product line we have. All of this information is sent on a daily basis to everyone in the company. And developers, when they start a project, as I mentioned, they worked with the product organization so they can decide what is the baseline, what are the hypotheses, and what we should track and what success look like, so they can also see the impact they can have.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a part of DDDM FM podcast and answering all my questions today.
Thank you very much for the invitation.